Hey everybody out there in the nation, got a new video for you today. I'm going to be replacing the radiator in my 2009 Hummer H3T. This is a 3.7 liter engine. I think it works for the 3.5 and even possibly the 5.3. Not 100% sure on that though. Anyways, the backstory on this is I've had issues with fluid being flung around all over the place. And I've tried different methods to track down the source and pressure test the system. And the only thing that I can continually see is that the top of the radiator itself is actually seeping on this hybrid plastic aluminum style. So I wanted to just go with the full aluminum model to try to eliminate any other excessive seams that could cause leaks in the future. So just to kind of give you another look here, so leakage here, and this is just kind of day to day. Just slowly would fill up the reservoir overflow bottle to minimum, and then it would leak back down. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this, and stay tuned. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and remove the skid plate. 4 bolts total. Down here, I just showed you the first 2. And then we'll get the radiator fluid draining out. I have a concrete mixing pan which works great for dealing with coolant issues when you're draining. And then one of the things that you want to do is there's a flap. We want to actually get this flap back and just tucked in behind this bar, because it would interfere with our lower radiator hose. So we're going to get that clamp off and to just kind of basically just drain it from this section of the vehicle. It's just the easiest way to do it. We're going to work on getting our lower radiator clamp loose and then begin the flow of draining out the coolant. So this is an 8mm socket that I'm using, and obviously this is an aftermarket hose clamp, so your factory clamp may be different for sure. So this is pretty clear that this is going to be the messiest part of the whole job, so I'm just giving you a heads up. Be ready for some towel usage and some splash. So I'm going to start at the top, remove the radiator cap, and I did, by the way, pressure check that to the best of ability, and it seemed to be working fine. Remove the hose, remove the upper radiator hose, and then start undoing bolts, and I'm going to work from the top down, so, and then everything will come up. Alright, removed. This is a 13mm. I was able to get that all loose. It's just a bracket and a rubber grommet, and then there's a little hook that holds it in. And if you don't have a cordless ratchet, highly recommend getting one. And you can't beat a hood light. So this particular hood light that I have has 2 detachable wands, or drop lights if you will, LEDs, rechargeable, and then you can attach them in there so they can function as a hood light or just your standard working light for you. Awesome. So they have a pretty cool design in regards to getting the fan shroud out. There's a little tab here that you will actually pull back and then lift up, and you're going to slide this handle, and you're just going to keep sliding it. Let me change my light position here. And then another notch will come around right here. You have to pull it out and then slide it. That goes around, and then another notch will come around. Once that notch here hits this, then you have the fan shroud basically removed from the bottom clear up to the top, so it allows you to pull the fan shroud out and up without having to remove the fan at all. So pretty cool. So the second part to this is now you have this little tab right here. What you're going to do is you're going to just take your thumb and pry it back towards the back and then lift, and that will lift the tab or lift up the shroud out of this groove. And obviously you'll have to do that on the other side, but now you get that out of position, and then it's away from the radiator. So that's super cool too. All right, on the bottom for our transmission line detachment is you have these little clips in here. So what you can do is depress this, and then it lifts it up, and then you can actually remove the clip from the old one. That's how you're going to get the transmission lines popped out. But I'm just kind of showing you here on this new one because it's just a lot easier to see. But your new radiator should come with the new clips. So we will get started on those. So down here at the bottom of the radiator, where those little clips were, I was just showing you the other one, you have a protective cap that goes over the clip. So what you're going to do is just actually slide the cap off. It's not really snapped on there very much or very tight at all. And then your transmission line is underneath this little bracket, so you can just push them down and they'll unclip. And then you're going to take a little 90-degree L tool, and then we're going to remove the clip out of here and then pop off the coolant lines. Now before I remove those transmission coolant lines, I'm actually going to pull the radiator forward, and then we have a bolt here, which is for the AC condenser on the left side, and then this other side. You can see this, the other one there. Come on, get in focus. We'll remove that one, and then that way we can detach the AC condenser from the radiator, and then I can minimize any fluid that potentially could come out of the transmission lines by doing it last. Now you'll know when you have it separated because you can clearly, almost, you can see, yeah, there you go, all the debris that's stuck in between the two. So that way you know that you have it forward enough, so you should be clear. And now I'm going to start down there on the transmission lines. Now you can do this part from the top, or you can actually do it from the bottom, but I was able to get the clip out. This is actually what the clip's going to look like. Come on, there you go. And I just used the 90-degree pick, picked out the end, pulled it to the side, and then actually hooked it around and pulled it out. So worked great. So one little tip is I happen to have some of the, the do-it-yourself closet stuff and the caps that go on the end of the metal. I just happen to use those to plug off the end of the transmission line if you're worried about losing too much transmission fluid, but there's not a whole lot, from my understanding, that comes out of the whole system. So, but I just did it just so I can minimize the loss. So we're going to do a comparison. Radiator's out, disgusting on the other side. So one of the things we're going to do is these rubber boots came up out of the slot, so these will go on the new radiator. And then you have these two clips, clip here, clip there. Those will then clip on to the radiator here, and we're going to remove our plug holes. Everything else about the radiator looks like it's pretty good. I think that we are going to have to pry out this little bracket. There's not enough gap there, and may even do this with this one also. And then on the back side, make sure that our bracket down here is nice and straight. You can kind of tell it's bent a little bit, and make sure that bracket is going to be bent out far enough. So that is actually where the AC condenser hooks into And when you're removing it, you actually have to lift up the AC condenser a little bit and then kind of set it back towards the front of the vehicle before you can end up lifting the radiator out. So here, look at the back side. Pretty disgusting. But yeah, so we're getting there. So I'd recommend making sure that you have some spray silicone. It's awesome for all kinds of projects, but we're going to get these all cleaned up with the silicone and lubed up. They're great lube, and even our little brackets, so we can get that all slid on in the right place. So the only modification I really had to do is down there. You can see the tab on the new radiator right down there, and then the other one over here on the other side, if it can focus, but it's down the same area. I had to bend those out towards the front of the vehicle a little bit just to get the condenser to slide into the slots on both sides. So that's really the only modification that I ran into so far. One little modification that I had to make is I had to take my Dremel tool and actually cut a little bit of this edge off because it was hitting on the metal housing in the Hummer, and then I actually had to cut a little bit of this side off so that the edge of the condenser could slide in just a little closer. And I'm talking 1/4 inch maybe on both of them. So those are the only modifications other than bending these tabs out a little further. So I have the radiator in. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom and attach that flap over the edge of the transmission coolant lines, the brackets, and the low radiator hose, and then we'll get everything attached down there. Alright, I'm down underneath and just went ahead and got this flap in place. Some people don't even have this flap, so but it has it, so I'm gonna install it. I'll finish attaching the low radiator hose. I need to slide it on a little bit more, and I have my clamp, and then get the coolant lines, or the transmission coolant lines in, and then in the clip there, and then in there, and then I'll move back up to the top to finish up. Alright, everything's buttoned up down here. Lower radiator hose on, clamp on. The transmission coolant lines, they actually just press in and you'll hear them snap together, and then you can put on the collar, and then snap in the line, and the other transmission coolant. So now I'm gonna head back up top and we'll get that snugged up. Alright, back here on the top side, so we'll install the upper radiator hose. I have a new radiator hose coming. I didn't have it for the video, but this one was still fine. But I'm still replacing it in the future. The overflow bottle, and then we'll install the bracket. So it actually just hooks in there, and then again, just slide it over. You have to put a little force on the radiator to pull it back, and then get everything buttoned in. And then we'll fill up the tank and start the bleeding process. Okay, I have the shroud in, bracket on. Obviously, we're gonna fill it up. Overflow bottle on, upper radiator hose on. We'll definitely have to fill up our bottle also. So now we're going to go ahead and fill it up and then bring it up to operating temperature. Coolant I'm using is the Xerox GM DexCool. Make sure it's 50-50 solution, or you'll have to end up mixing it. This is just way easier to buy it this way. So we'll go ahead and put in our first gallon. We're at gallon 1 in, and I'm going to shoot for gallon 2 now. Okay, so right at 2 gallons allowed me to fill that right to the brim basically, and go ahead and fill up the overflow tank right at to its line. So that's exactly 2 gallons. So I'll have another gallon that I had in the past because obviously I was filling this up. So I'll use that to go ahead and top off anything that I need for bleeding. So we'll get this thing warmed up. All right, got it started up. No issues, nothing clanking around. So we're gonna go ahead and turn on the heater. Crank that up. And then we're just gonna let this baby warm up. Okay, so let it get up to a normal operating temperature. Come out, check for leaks on the top, check for leaks underneath. I did have a small leak on the transmission coolant line, and then what I did find out that I needed a wrench to go ahead and tighten up the nut that attaches inside of the radiator. So just be aware of that. And then once I tightened that down, everything was good. So now what I'm going to do is back this out. My driveway is tilted. So we'll increase the incline and allow the bubbles to come up to the radiator, and then do the final bleeding on it. Alright, so like I said, basically just gonna back this up a little bit more. I have an incline here, and let it cool down, and then I'll check the radiator fluid and then see if I need to go ahead and bleed any more off. Thanks for watching today. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, definitely comment. I always comment whenever I see the comments come through. So look forward to doing another video. Thanks.